date is March 14, 2012. My name is Paul Robards, Library Director at Roberts Memorial Library. I will be speaking with Russell Davidson from Cochran, Georgia today about his experiences in the Vietnam War. Mr. Davidson, what branch of the service did you serve in?
U.S. Navy.
Why did you join the military?
To keep from being drafted was the main reason. I had been going to school at Middle Georgia College, and things weren't going as good as I had hoped, and I was really afraid of getting drafted, so I decided to go ahead and join.
How old were you when you joined the military?
I just turned 18.
Where did you go to receive basic training?
In Orlando, Florida, at a Naval Training Center there, which is no longer there now.
Where did you attend advanced training, and how long did it last?
Well, I only went to Rhode Island for some very basic gun mount training. That was down the road some.
Did this training sufficiently prepare you for your duties in Vietnam?
No, not at all.
What was your occupation code?
I was a gunner's mate, GMG.
Did you volunteer to go to Vietnam?
No, absolutely not. I had joined the Navy to hopefully keep from going to Vietnam, but I got drafted to go over there. My stepfather had died in December of 71, so I came back home for that. I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, so I tried to get him to let me stay in Norfolk where I could come back home to support my mother, because she was about 45 years old at the time. Anyway, no, we got to have you back. This was back when the United States was playing games with Russia at the time. So they flew me to Rota, Spain. I spent 30 days in Rota, Spain. Ship was out on special ops, chasing the Russians. They flew me to Naples, Italy. I spent 30 days in Naples, Italy. Ship was out on special ops. They flew me back to Rota, Spain, and I caught the ship the day that it was coming back to the States. On the way back, they said, we need volunteers. I found out I had made E5, second-class gunner's mate, and they said, we need E5s to volunteer to go to this ship that's going to Vietnam. I said, no way. I said, that's why I joined the Navy, not to go there. So we got back to port. I came home to Cochran for 2 weeks, got back on a Sunday night. When I crossed the bridge to get on the base, on the ship, they said, guess what? You've been drafted. And so that was it. I got sent to the USS Mullinex, and so they flew me to meet the ship.
What was your first encounter with the enemy?
Well, once I got on ship, we were shooting pretty much 24/7. They would call in for gunfire support. So my first day on the job, we would be shooting. I would do whatever my duty was for the day, whether it was loading ammunition or running the gun mount, whatever it was. And, we would be constantly shooting anywhere from normally 10 to 15 miles inland. Sometimes we'd be shooting right on the beach, just according to what the situation was. And we were shot at a couple times, but they didn't have good radar and stuff, so they came within about 100 yards of us, I think, at one time.
Describe the bravest action you witnessed during the war.
Well, it's hard to say from the Navy side of it. I mean, we just did our thing, and just being able to do our job and not be killed from it was pretty brave, because we had the guns would get hot, that the shells could actually cook off in the shell in the barrel if you didn't shoot it within less than a minute. We've had other ships that sailors got killed on a gun mount. That's exactly what happened to them. The gun cooked off, but it wasn't the same from our perspective as if I was a troop on the ground out there.
What is your evaluation of American military leadership in Vietnam and of your immediate commanders in the field?
In 1972, this was when President Nixon had started the B-52 campaign. The war was in a sense winding down, but it was some very intense fighting during those years. And we had a running joke that every morning at 8 o'clock, and I think this was in Stars and Stripes magazine, every morning at 8 o'clock, everybody would jump up so that the president could say that there are no troops currently on the ground in Cambodia. But anyway, the leaders on my ship were great. The captain of the ship his name was Ace Cannon. His nickname was Ace. I don't remember what his first name was, but he wore an old hard pit helmet, as they called it. Never wore a shirt. He always never wore a shirt. He was gung-ho. And on the way over there, the ship pulled into Pearl Harbor, and he dropped anchor and hit a main power line for Pearl Harbor. He said, "Cut the damn anchor. I've got a war to fight. I don't have time to wait for this." And that's no joke. The ship had been Top Gun, I think, the year previously, and he had a good reputation. He was in, like, Newsweek magazine, I believe it was, and it's like, we're going to go show them how the big boys play. So our weapons officer was from Texas, Lieutenant Schroep. He always wore a cowboy hat, and he was a true cowboy. And there was one time that we were getting ready to go up north to North Vietnam to do some shooting. Our Mount Number 3, the barrel was wore out. Mount Number 3 was named Yosemite Sam. That was the shootingest gun we ever had. Mount Number 2 was named Have Gun Will Travel, after the show Paladin. It would stay broke most of the time. The captain wanted us to take a part off Mount Number 3 to get Mount Number 2 fixed because the barrel was better. But we knew that we didn't have enough time to do that. So him and the captain argued for a while, and he finally told the captain, and he gave him a salute, said, "Yes, sir, Captain, we'll do it." As soon as the captain walked off, he said, "Boys, don't touch a damn thing." And the good thing was that the next morning we came under fire. And so our number 1 mount messed up. So if we didn't have Yosemite Sam, we'd have been in real trouble. But Yosemite Sam pulled us out of trouble.
As a young serviceman, did you understand the politics and diplomacy that landed you in the middle of a war?
Not really. I mean, I knew what was going on. What got me the most was we would be out there shooting. Like I say, it could be inland, could be on the beach, but the Vietnamese people would be coming out in their boats to go fishing, and that told me they could care less if they're communists, Vietnamese. They could care less. They just want to live and eat. That's it. And that really, to me, that was really hit home that, they just don't care. I mean, they didn't care, what was causing that. They just wanted to live, and they just wished it would go away. So.
How did your understanding of the situation affect how you did your job?
It didn't, because, I had my job to do, and I did it daily. Whatever I was supposed to do, I did it.
Describe your living conditions, housing, and food in Vietnam.
Well, of course, I lived on the ship. The ship's about 400 feet long, but you got about 300 people on that ship. So you have about a 6-foot-long bunk that you sleep in. The biggest thing was we'd be on the gun line for like 45 days. So you would not get any mail, any food. So if you ran out of food, tough luck. And towards the end of those 45 days, you would be down to duty ham or duty hot dog. The day I got there, I weighed 185 pounds. 30 days later, I weighed 145 pounds. Lots of that was lack of food to eat, stress, because we were shooting. Well, we worked 12 hours on and about maybe 10 hours off. So you were constantly working, constantly under pressure. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd say, I slept right under a gun mount. I'd say, "What did y'all do last night?" "We shot 200 rounds. I didn't hear the first thing. You get so accustomed to it, you just tune it out. But, it was hot. The temperature over there was 110 degrees plus, but you were able to take a Navy shower where you go in and put water on you for about 10 seconds, soap up, 10 seconds to rinse it off, and you're done.
Did you ever do anything just for the fun of it?
Probably, but I can't remember. Not there. We did, once we left the gun line, we did get to go to Japan and Hong Kong, and that was a great relief to get to go there. I know as we were leaving to come back home, we went to Japan. I bought a brand new Sansui stereo 4-channel, which was the latest and greatest thing. I paid $1,500 for it. When we pulled into San Diego, California, that same thing was $3,500 in the States. So the only thing you could do when you're on the gun line is just hope you weren't shooting and maybe sit down and relax for a minute. That's about it.
Could you tell me about the most memorable event that happened to your ship?
I guess that would be when we came under fire. That'll get your attention, pretty quick. But other than that, it's just doing your job and always worrying about things. And witnessing one time we pulled into port. I think it may have been when we went to get the barrels changed on the gun that needed it. Was we parked right next to a ship that the gun mount had blown up, and we went over to see that, and that was an eye opener to seeing that.
Do you think that Vietnam veterans were discriminated against when they returned after their tours in Vietnam?
Absolutely. They, lots of people called, baby killers or whatever. You didn't want to wear your uniform, because we had to wear the uniforms when you left the ship most of the time. So, but when I got out of the service in 1973, I had a hard time finding a job, even especially at Robins Air Force Base. I kept applying. It's like, who cares, And so I did wind up getting a job in Macon, Armstrong Ceiling Tile Company. It was my first job. But, yeah, they were absolutely discriminated against, in my opinion.
Have your views about the war changed over the years?
No, didn't really understand. Halfway understand what we did, but it was like, I think we felt like, and I think lots of people from there felt like, that the U.S. government didn't want us to win the war. You could only do so much. You couldn't go here. You can go here, but you can't go here. So you were limited really to what you could do. I mean, I was glad when it was over, and glad the people that were able to get out got out. But we lost lots of good people over there.
Would you repeat this experience if you could do it over again? Why or why not?
Well, I wouldn't volunteer. I sure wouldn't volunteer again. I didn't want to go there to start with, but I've always believed in serving my country, and if I was called upon to do it again, yes, I would. Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you would like to share about your Vietnam War experience?
Well, it was just a time in my life. I know when I first heard the news that I was getting drafted, it kind of upset me because I had just lost my stepfather. My mother was at home. She was about 45 years old. My sister had just turned 16. So, I had a real fear that I'd never come back because so many of my friends had gone and never came back. So it was a real fear. It's just one of those things it's just like today, Iraq and Afghanistan. I wish we'd get our guys home as quick as we can because bottom line, those people don't care about us. Whether we're there or the Taliban's there, they're gonna keep. All they want to do is live. They don't care, and that's the same way with Vietnamese people. Vietnam today is thriving. Nike shoes are made there. Nike shoes and a bunch of other things are made there. It is what it is. It's part of military service, and when I came along, you did your duty to God and country, and I still believe that today.
Thank you for your service to the country.